it's usually when people seek out for help in terms of like therapy or even just seeing a doctor or like some kind of psychiatric help. It's when things tend to fuck up. All right, okay, and welcome once again to another episode of Inconsiderate Insights. So apart from our usual crew, we have about Iqbal and Haziq over here.
What up?
Today we have joining us Narisya, who has actually some history with Bal and Haziq over here because she's a fellow creative herself, right? And today we're going to be exploring anxiety in creative. So everyone, let's give a big shout out to Narisya over here.
What up?
Hi guys.
Yeah, before we go in, like Bal, why don't you tell us how you know Narisya from what's your past history working with her? Like,
I met her while she was cosplaying. She was wearing something that caught my eye. No, I was just kidding. So we apparently worked
you're
in
not
this.
kidding at all, lah, Bal. What a creep! You decor shoe like.
Okay. So basically, I met Narisha while working in the agency, my first creative agency. I wasn't in the same company, but I was in a sister company which was under the same office, within the same office as her. Yeah, so we made friends, we chilled, we created our own Geylang Serai crew, of sorts.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, that's how the term Geylang Serai crew came about.
GSC.
Yeah.
GSC represent.
And
Wait, what do you guys do as a crew? Was it like a legitimate like artist collective or just drink tea only? Like,
it's like what typical Geylang Serai people do, lepak one corner.
I don't know what Geylang Serai people do.
No, like lepak, during fasting month, go Ramadan bazaar, buy food, and under pondok, relax, play guitar, like a typical Malay mat.
So we did actually form a band, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Wait,
Oh my god, yeah.
Narisya, you
we
formed
did.
the band with.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
What did you play? What did you play, Narisya?
She was the Amy Lee, yeah.
Oh,
What? No, I do not have like a voice like hers, please. We made a band at my request, I think.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? Because I was leaving the agency and basically I was like, let's do a live session, before I go. And it got done.
It was fun.
Yeah, man.
oh, that's pretty cool. And I think that's a very good tone to jump into our next conversation. I think it's always good to talk about anxiety and other mental health related questions with people like you feel safe with, right? People you're a bit more familiar with. So let's get the ball rolling. So Narisha, like I understand that you found you reached out to Haziq in particular when you saw Haziq put up a post on the Visual in Consideration page about creatives dealing with anxiety. And I think as creative professionals, all of us have struggled with that at some point in time, whether it's toxic work environments, deadlines, or even this feeling of like even imposter syndrome, feeling like maybe I just don't know enough. So what was running through your mind when you saw it? What spoke to you?
Basically, ever since I got diagnosed with depression and anxiety, I made it a point for myself to always be open about having depression and anxiety, and also to kind of like not shy away from that, because I do notice that in society, especially Singapore, I mean, I can only speak for Singapore, that we don't really want to talk about things like that. There's not a lot of ready help for people. So I decided, what, the first step is to just be open to, talk about things. I know people get uncomfortable, but, that's how you create change.
Like, I think even for myself, say at least a few years ago, I think it was 2018 was when I was thinking like, maybe I am depressed too. Like I was feeling, things, it's usually when people seek out for help in terms of like therapy or even just seeing a doctor for like some kind of psychiatric help. It's when things tend to fuck up or when things just don't go well. And so for me, I remember I was not meeting deadlines. It was so hard for me to even like get any momentum or to stay organized in my life. Like plates were piling up when I was renting out at that point in time, and my roommates were like, dude, are you alright? Like what's going on? So I remember like going through the system. Like I went to the polyclinic. I was like, let me actually get a doctor to figure this out. Went to the polyclinic, got a referral, went to IMH, and then asked them. Told them I didn't want to take medicine. I wanted to explore psychotherapy. And so I went through a bit of that system to kind of get the help that I did. Maybe you can walk us through like some of the things that you did and how has that helped you? Made you feel better, made you more feel at ease.
Yeah, I did a really long way through this whole thing. So basically, when I first identified having like low moods and such, I basically just went down to my GP and said, you know what, I don't feel like I feel normally. I'm always irritated and stuff. And so basically, I just asked her, what can I do? And so she referred me to a psychiatrist at that time in like a government hospital, and that took a little while. I think about a month till we get our appointment. And then I went in, and basically the doctor was like, look, I think you're not that bad, you're stressed, but you don't need medication and all that. Let's give like an open dated next appointment. And I thought, okay, so maybe I am like just imagining stuff and overthinking. And then like years later, I just like didn't feel great, and it actually went worse.
Do you
So
mind telling us how long that gap was?
yeah, so those were like about 2 years apart. Yeah, so 2 years later, I had like days where I wake up and I'm just like literally, why am I alive? Like, why do I have to wake up? Like, just wishing I just slept through the rest of my life, kind of thing. And I know that that's not kind of normal behavior. So basically, I was like, okay, so the government hospital is gonna take too long, but I couldn't really like think what kind of help I wanted. So I again went to my GP, and then she referred me to a counseling service. This was also under like public service. So okay, I went for counseling. Yes, essentially it's psychotherapy for about I think another 2 years, and
Do you
it
know
was.
what form of psychotherapy they did with you? Like, was it
I
like
did
CBT?
not. Yeah, I did not because I never really asked also. But now that I look back, I realize it is CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. And so I went through that for about 2 years, and then felt great. I thought it was okay. Was starting to like lessen the frequency of like visits to the therapist, to the counselor. And then basically I thought I was ready for my next like big career jump. Basically during those 2 years I was unemployed. So I was jumping around a lot of temp jobs, a lot of contract jobs, a lot of freelance, and just did whatever I thought I could handle and manage.
Did that add
Mhm.
to like an added pressure because as a freelancer, as someone who's doing like odd jobs here and there, was that because of whatever mental health struggles you were having, like you felt that you couldn't commit to one job, or was it being a freelancer actually put more pressure on you mentally?
It was more of like a situation, kind of like, you join a job and then you hope that you can convert into a full-timer, and HR says, no, we don't have the headcount. So that's beyond my control. And then there are occasions where I join a job and then there's like 2 3 months into probation and it's just not the right fit for me. And I just decided that, okay, that's all. So I never really felt that my condition affected my performance directly in a job. After that, when I felt ready to really commit to my next like real creative work. So this was in an events company. I was going to do marketing, never really done before. So something new. So I thought, okay, let's go, new start, let's do it. And that job was what caused my mental health, like the big blow. During those, I think 6 months in the job, immediately I had to like halfway through go into psychiatry and psychotherapy. And this time I was like, I'm not playing. If no one else is going to help me, I'm going to help myself. So I just like called a private hospital and said, I need an appointment. Do you have one ASAP? I called in the morning, got an appointment in lunchtime. Went in lunchtime, got diagnosed straight away.
What did they diagnose you with?
Yeah, so depression and anxiety. It's not really severe. I would say probably at that time it's like just full on, moderate to full on.
Were you
Yeah.
prescribed medication?
Yes, I was prescribed a few medication, which I tried on a 2 weeks basis to see like if my body could kind of match up with it. Because essentially medication is like chemicals, right? So it works with your body, works with your
Was it like,
hormones.
do you recall like the medication prescribed to you?
Oh, The first few ones were basically medication to help me sleep and calm down. And then eventually I switched to medication that would help me be just on a neutral mood, at least in the morning. So it's like a mood adjuster. And then I've stayed on that one ever since, because that's the like best fit for my lifestyle, and yeah, just best fit for my body also.
I would love to ask you a lot more about your experiences with the medications and then how you've been coping mentally since. But so for now, I want to ask Zeke and Bao, hearing all this, because it's a very different perspective from the friend that you've known all this while and as creative professionals yourself. And I think just knowing from you guys is like a very different experience in terms of life and lifestyle. Hearing all this, like what are you guys thinking at the moment?
Because I knew Narisha and we're gonna work closely together back in our previous agency. So I do see like sometimes she gets stressed with some projects that you're working on. Some of the demands might be a bit too overwhelming and all that. And for me, I at times I would like to help out, but I don't know how. You know what I mean? I've been seeing it like quite occasionally at the point in time, and I had no idea that it affected you like deeply. To be honest,
So in your
I just
mind,
thought
it
like
was just normal work stress.
I had no understanding of it at the point in time. It was something like I felt like if I had known, I would want to do more lah. By that point in time, I was like, I thought it was an everyday thing. Yeah, I think like whatever Naisha shared, it is really like something that's very serious. Yeah, I just felt that if I knew after she left, we were not close. Right? We were just like maybe texting, but not so close. If we had like kind of hung out closer, I think we would have known what's up.
I guess for me personally, like I think Narisha is not one of my only friends that face depression. I have plenty of friends that have suffered it, and I empathize them. And I think as a friend and individual, from my experience, I think like addressing it head on would actually put them in the corner. So usually I let them open up first. And I think if you know me, I'm very happy-go-lucky. So like I don't like to dwell in the dark, and I understand right, like they are having such a problem. So I always make it lighthearted. Like I laugh with them. Like I try not to make the jokes on them. I try to make the jokes with them. Like I think Narisha, she knows me. Like when I heard when she has that, like I straight away switch. I mean, because of our working environment, I'm not in the same company as her, so I'm for sure unable to help her. But all I did was, try to make things lighter for her, make it happier for her. Because sometimes, like as a creative, it gets pretty lonely. And I think when you're suffering by your own, it's like you are in this dark cave where, you can get lost. So I just make the situation happy. And I think for me, just to add to that, like I mean, out of curiosity and also for sharing, my question I want to ask Narisha is, I think when you first started it, you might not understand what you're going through, but like, can you talk through with us what emotion or what thoughts went to your mind when you are actually going into a depressed state?
It kind of feels like no one else will understand me. Like, I mean, it's not that I don't appreciate all of my friends that I have in my life. It's just like when I bring up something negative, or I'm just all the time agitated and irritated, or just like moody, and people don't like to be around that. So I just like decided for myself, like, yeah, nobody understands me. It kind of sounds like an emo, but you like times 100, like, so you like really amp up those thoughts. And I also felt like things are not worth doing. I have my job and I just do it, but I don't think it's great, and I don't think it's valuable, that kind of thing. And I just question my existence a lot of time. What's my purpose of being here, of being alive? You're just going day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, just questioning these things, like questioning my existence, questioning my value, my work, whether I'm good enough, that kind of things, those kind of thoughts.
And then when it intensifies, like, to a point that it puts you on edge, like, can you describe, like, how does it feel? Explain to us, like, what goes through when you're actually at that breaking point.
Basically, at that breaking point, you just feel like helpless. So I felt helpless, and I just want to let go of myself. So basically, just if I'm feeling anger, then I would let go of anger. If I'm feeling sad, then I would really just feel sad at the most, like the most intense level. And I wouldn't even know exactly the cause, because I have all these thoughts running and running around and around and around, right? At that point, if somebody asks me, actually, why are you crying? I'll be like, I don't know. Like, and I'll just be like, I don't know, I just want to cry. Or if I'm angry, then I don't know, I'm just really mad, you know. And then I would start thinking of blaming other people, for example. And then I would feel like, oh shit, that's not that person's fault. It's me. I'm the one being angry, or I'm the one like scolding them. So then that enters the whole like vicious loop, and then it was just snowball and again and again. And eventually for myself, I would get really tired. So eventually I'm too tired, and then I just like KO and sleep.
I'm going to dwell a little bit deeper. I think I'm going to ask this controversial question that I've always heard commonly, like, when you are actually in a situation that you're in, and then suddenly someone goes to you like, hey Narisha, it's okay, it's all in your head. Like, what do you think about these kind of people saying that to you?
Yeah. So when someone says something like that to me, I just feel like they're very ignorant, and like you're just trying to be nice, but it's misguided. So you're trying to say to this person, you hear them, you understand them, and that things are going to be better, and it's all in good intention. But for a person going through depression and like just bad mental health state, it's not going to get through to them, because what they really want or need at that point is someone who just listens and doesn't judge them, and just acknowledges their feelings and their thoughts. Yeah, instead of saying, you know, it's a phase. That's one thing I hear very often. It's just a phase in life, um, or it's just stress, or you're just overthinking. So just really please try to avoid saying things like that, because that's not acknowledging that person's like hurt. So just really listen, sit down and say, hey, how are you feeling, like do you want to talk about it, or maybe we don't talk about it, let's just sit here, and you can say whatever you want to say and I'll listen. Or, oh, you're feeling low, yeah, I hear you. You know what, if there's anything you want to say, you can just say. If you don't want, that's okay. And then just take them, maybe ask them if they want to do things. So do you want to take a walk, do you want to eat something, like very simple basic needs. And maybe that person will just shoot down all of your ideas, but I think you're eventually going to get through to them. They're going to like eventually think that, hey, this person is still here while I'm being just not a great friend. And I think most of us have that emotional intelligence, especially in this day and age of like just information. Yeah.
I think on that note, I guess I'm going through a kind of career change for myself. Because from the creative industry, I'm actually moving into becoming a psychotherapist. So I'm in the process of starting up my own practice and all of that. I think that people really do underestimate, for example, how people are still not willing to acknowledge psychological issues or mental health. I know so many people in Singapore like faced with mental health issues, and they tell their family, their family solution is pray more,
Yeah.
or yeah, right, like that
Yeah.
this is something that you can pray away. Because I look at it through a psychotherapeutic lens, a psychodynamic lens. I look at it like, it comes from trauma, right? There's something unprocessed feelings at the back of the head. I like to bring up these two examples, like these two case studies I read. These involve a form of therapy called EMDR, so eye movement desensitization therapy. One of the case studies was, there's this girl, she was 25 years old, beautiful girl, could have, relationships with any man she pretty much wanted. But whenever a man would break up with her and would leave her life, she would fall on her knees and break down and start crying and begging them not to go. So in the course of therapy, when they went back and they peeling back the layers, and they're trying to find what were the memories that were associated with it. Suddenly a memory emerged of her at like 3 years old, and she was in a bedroom during a thunderstorm, and she was crying and crying and crying for her parents to be there. But parents for some reason just didn't hear her, and maybe it's a thunderstorm and they're away. And so what happened was that memory and the emotion of feeling abandoned were locked in. And so now she's much older, she's 25, and then she's going out there. But whenever a man leaves her, that feeling of abandonment gets triggered again, and she can't help herself because the memory is not processed. She goes back down on her knees, begging and pleading to stay. Like a lot of times, we are under the influence of things from our past, our memories, things haven't processed, and they can have a huge impact on your life. Doesn't matter how intelligent you think you are, or how well on the outside your life seems to be. You're under the influence of a lot of things from your past that can be traumatic and cause a lot of anxiety and depression. There's another case study I like to bring up. This guy, successful businessman, like he's late in his career, but whenever he goes in front of a room of people, he freezes up. He can't speak. He stutters. And then, so they did the same exercise in therapy, and it takes some time, like you have to go make the person feel safe enough for the memory to emerge. And then the memory popped up. He was 3.5 years old, walking down Alabama by the riverside or something, and he was with his grandfather. And he bumped into this vagrant, like this bum, and the bum was like, your young one here is very chatty. If I had a chatty one like that, I would drown him in the river. And so, as a 3.5-year-old kid, the memory was locked in. And then he's an adult, he's a successful businessman, but whenever he goes in front of a room of people, because of the unprocessed memory, he just freezes up. And so many things can influence us in the course of growing up, like especially if you're in Singapore, like, we're all the victims of Asian discipline, right? Whether it's beatings or you're going to school and tough teachers and those kind of punishments. So our generation, especially, like, we have very complex jobs. We go there, it's very high stress environments, and sometimes that's the wall we hit, and then after that we are forced to kind of go back and see what's been influencing our lives. So, like, Narissa, if you feel comfortable sharing, like, were there any insights from your own life that you felt like, okay, since I've been struggling with this the last few years, now looking back, I've seen, like, certain dots I've connected, like, okay, I'm feeling like this because of my history with this. Have you ever had an experience like that?
Quite close. Like I noticed a few like connections, but within my psychotherapy, I have not really gone really that deep, just because that there's always other like daily stresses that come out that I really need to manage like immediately. Yeah, but I think one I can kind of identify that really struck out to me was the fact that my parents are divorced.
How old were you when they got divorced?
I was 2, so I barely have any memory. So I grew up actually thinking that having a dad was strange. Like I never knew that dads were part of a family system. And when you're a little kid in primary school and all that, you're being fed this idea of a family, of a mother, a father, a brother, a sister, son, daughter concept, right? And I just felt like also that's supposed to be what I'm supposed to have. And I would think, oh, okay, maybe someday I'll have that. And so I grew up with that idea of eventually I'm gonna have it for myself, or I'm gonna create that ideal that society fed me for myself. And I think that has really affected definitely some of my life decisions and some of my relationships, whether it's like with boyfriends or whether it's with friends even. I have noticed how basically my ideas and um, basically how my really cracked ideals of my world, they're just being shown at me. And I haven't really like delved really deep into that, but just like now I know that that's something, and yeah, I just will get to that with my own therapies, like hopefully sooner than later. Yeah.
Are you seeking therapy currently in Singapore? As in,
Yes,
do you go to a
so I go to a psychotherapist and a psychiatrist together in the same hospital. So it's just a lot easier for them to transfer information when I need them to. And also just for the medical record's sake, it is with currently I'm doing sessions to help with family stress. So I go for sessions together with my sister, and we just try to work things out like together, and just trying to help our family when we all have family stress and all that, so we just want to manage our family like more effectively.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's very interesting. Like, family therapy and all. Like,
Mm-hmm.
to someone on the outside who's never even heard of maybe therapy for family, are there things that you would like to share? Or tell them, like, this has been really great. This particular insights that I've got, or or do you believe that everyone should explore it? maybe at least once or something? Like, what are your thoughts on it in general?
I think in general in Singapore, we should all try family therapy at least once because we all go through this, like you said, Asian upbringing and like beating our kids and having these expectations of kids from I don't know where and unjustified. And when you ask your parents, why do you want me, your child, to like be a doctor, something, something, etc. And the parents usually can't really explain other than it's good for you. And you know, if we allow these like situations, these problems and issues to be left as they are, and we don't talk to our own parents about it, imagine how it's going to be like when they're old and we need to give them like senior care. We won't be able to understand our own parents, and I think that's something that we as the next generation should even consider. I mean, yeah, maybe we can't bring our parents to therapy because of their ideas of therapies. They're going to think, oh, you're going to send me to the med hospital and I'm not mad, and then they'll get angry and that kind of thing. So as the next generation, we gotta be open, and it really is for the good. Like I think we should all just go at least once, like, and just try it out. And you maybe you'll find out things that you never even think you might find out, like why your parents say certain things and things like that, or why you behave a certain way in front of your parents. You just find out, and you be able to kind of have better relationships within your family. And I think that's the goal that we all want at the end of the day.
But I mean, you're a young dad with a young family. Like, what do you think about this idea of like family therapy, or looking into at least the dynamics that can
I
influence your kids even?
I think for me, okay, in a nutshell, I think based on our conversation now, it seems to me like therapy is more like trying to bridge the communication between two different parties, or like a party of people who tend to not be able to communicate well with each other, that cause the rift and all these misunderstandings. I think let's all say it here that the stigma of therapy being sent to the madhouse is actually wrong. So let's break it to them. And therapy is actually trying to sync the parties involved together so that they are able to work together as a unit and try to understand either the victim that is at hand and try to help that person, or like try to communicate together and work as a unit to be a better family. So I think with that being said, I feel that it's something that we all should actually try. And as a creative, I would say we should do something about it. Like we should actually like find a way to tell the people about how therapy is important in our lives right now, and it's not something to be shunned upon, because sometimes people do need help, and just because the society says that, oh, it's crazy, or you're mad, or you are lunatic, and they shy away from such help, which actually puts them into deeper trouble. And I think that's not the way that it's supposed to be, and we should find a way to
Yeah.
to
Thanks,
to
Bal, for
communicate. Yeah.
volunteering to create my content. On that note, like a lot of creatives, they do struggle a bit in silence. Like a lot of them,
Yeah.
if they are failing in their work, they really think, oh no, it's because it's me. I am not talented, or I need to focus. I need to discipline more. I need to put in the hours. When in fact, sometimes it's just a lot of underlying issues that influencing them, and I think the stigma of the shame of like, oh, I need help is the one that's keeping most people back. Like, I remember this was 2017.
Hmm.
I was actually dating this girl. I remember the first time we went out,
Real talk,
and
real talk.
real talk, man, real
Ooh.
talk. No, and one of the things that I brought, I mentioned to, and it blew her mind, was that I told her, if I'm actually looking for a partner, I want someone who's gone to therapy, because I think that for me is a very big signal of someone who's taking themselves and their growth very seriously. Because
It's
have you
become a
heard?
criteria for you.
It was a criteria. Like I told her
Oh,
straight up, and then it blew her mind, because then she dropped this bomb saying that, oh, actually tell you the truth, I've been going to therapy for a while, but for her, in her mind, it was something to be ashamed about. And then now she's going out with a guy who's telling her that no, that's the selection criteria. Like, so it's completely inverted, right?
Hmm.
Like, you see, you're talking about creatives needing to embrace therapy, and I think like everyone else should be, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at all the top performers in the world, they've all got some form of therapy or coaching. for counseling. And then when we watch a TV show like Billions, they're like, wow, these guys were psychotherapists in-house. We think it's damn cool. But then we turn off the Netflix and we go about our day-to-day lives completely forgetting the lessons from this show, which is that, when you're at that level, when you're dealing with something and your stress gets triggered, you want to find out why. I mean, it's your quality of life, right? Like, don't you want to figure this out? Like, okay, so see, you are starting an agency. I mean, you've been running an agency, and now you're expanding staff. You've got very young interns, and you're managing people. So, how has your perspective on like mental health in your staff, in training them, like, how has that changed for you?
So to be honest, right, mental health and therapy and all this, this space that we are actually talking about here is very new to me. To be honest, I am actually exposed to mental health only quite recently when I watched that show on Netflix, Billions. So in that show, there's this character called Wendy Rhodes. She's actually the therapist for a billionaire. And I was watching the show because of the context of the show, of the drama. But when I actually saw how the billionaire was impacted by just a short therapy session that can actually result in him dealing in a multi-billion dollars deals and all that. So that kind of like got me like thinking about, hey, like is this a thing or what? And then that's until when I actually talked to Pravin. So I actually hang out with him a lot. And to be honest, I actually did a couple of therapy sessions with you. So in terms of, I know you guys were talking about family therapies, right? So I was actually interested in like individual therapies, like finding your inner self, being self-aware, and identifying your insecurities. So that is something that I kind of learned how to identify and just to kind of I see it as a realignment. It's not something I do agree that everyone has got a not it's good for everyone to go because it kind of realigns, it kind of brings you in the right space and makes you self-aware and all that. But in a context, so now that I have kind of grounded all like within myself, so it's like quite okay in a system where like it's a company setting, it is a whole new set of challenges, man. Like because you need to kind of like know what to say, you need to be sharp at identifying what's up with this and that. So you need to be quick, you need to have like a lot of empathy. And like for me, one of the issues that I'm facing is right now is to I have identified, but I don't know what to do next. Like, how do I help you? So
I think
at
like
times when you just offer, hey, I want to help you. Sometimes they don't want that. They just want something else. And that's something that I've been trying to figure out, which is very new to me.
I think I want Narisya to add her 2 cents in on what you just said, because I think as an employer, sometimes you can feel this burden that, okay, I need to fix the problems for my staff and all that. But it's like if your staff came in with a broken arm, you're not a doctor. It's not your skill set to be able to fix that. But I think the best thing you can do is to create an encouraging environment to say, hey, I think you should get that fixed. And
Yeah.
like, it's not your job to kind of boost their mental health and to really deal with their traumas and to heal them from their patterns of behavior. And so maybe Narisa, what do you think employers can do better, especially in the creative sectors, if you have a perspective on that, to support like staff?
I think I regularly face an employer and a company setting where they just practically closed me out. So they knew I was suffering, they knew I was seeking treatment, but they were just like, no, we can't deal with that. And
Oh,
yeah, that was really the lowest point in my life so far. And I mean, hearing a boss tell you gotta try something for yourself, or get yourself try like meditation or things like that. It was very good intentions, but judgmental. So
yes.
I hear Haziq when he says you don't know what to do. And I mean, yes, I think in my previous company, yeah, they probably did not know what to do, did not know what would trigger me, what would set me off, and what would just like blow up in their faces and stuff like that. But I mean, I just think as if you're a boss, you're already a leader. And what leaders should already have is empathy And you don't need to fix your staff. You don't need to know like their whole life history and things like that. But you need to be able to create that safe space for them to be able to work, because they are there to work. And I'm all of us know when we go to somewhere to earn money, we are there to work, we are there to do our jobs, get it done, and earn money at the end of the day. So we know that if we are not performing, if we're not doing that work, we're not going to get paid for that. And so we understand that as staff, but we also want to be able to do that work without feeling threatened, without feeling people don't like us, that our jobs are at stake for any other reason, like underperforming, or if this person just doesn't feel like they're handling stress well. I mean, if you see your like staff getting like stressed out, you can just ask them, is this too much workload, or is the client just giving you a lot of trouble? How can we get around this like difficult situation? That kind of thing. Just help them along with that problem solving path, instead of just like just thinking, oh, they can't, and then at the review you're like, you're not meeting your KPI, so what are we going to do, that kind of thing. Because staff are more than those numbers and digits in a company, but we as staff understand that companies need to earn, and need to have business going so that they can continue to be hired. So
Right.
it is a two-way like relationship after all.
See, until you
100%.
mentioned it, right, Narisha, like I think sometimes I'm so distanced myself that I forget that there are people in Singapore who are really afraid to tell their employers that they are going to seek
Yes.
either psychiatric help or counseling or psychotherapeutic help,
Yes.
because like there's a stigma, and then they feel like they'll be labeled in their office, or
Yes.
opportunities will be denied to them. No, I think, like, I've worked so hard to shift my thinking around it, that no, this is an advantage. Like, this is a good thing. Like, I want to be on top of my game, if I'm doing my work. But yeah, like, this is a big issue. Like, I remember a few years ago, I was in a workshop, and there was a local Singaporean doctor who told another guy who was saying that, I want to seek help from a therapist. And this Singaporean doctor discouraged him from doing it, saying that, oh no, this will be in your record. And I'm like, man, that's fucked up. Like, because firstly, as a medical professional, you should be encouraging anyone to seek treatment regardless of whatever the hell is out there. And I think that's a big problem, at least in Singaporean companies. So, like, Narisa, like, how at present, I'm guessing that you are paying for your psychiatric medicine and your psychotherapy sessions out of pocket, or do you have like, is there an insurance plan that covers it? I don't think so, right? Or
No.
are there no employee
No.
benefits, nothing of that sort, right? So
No.
is it entirely
Nothing.
paid for by you?
This is entirely out of my pocket, and it is a heavy cost. And that, I think, is the biggest barrier anybody who wants to seek help will face. So that's just like putting a great big wall, and you're trying to break it down already, and it's getting higher, it's getting like bigger, and you're just getting smaller. And so I have like spoken to some friends who said they can't do the with the same treatment that I do, because they just simply can't afford it, and it's just too expensive, but they really do need the help. And
Mm-hmm.
they try going with like the government hospitals and the government counselors. So but you're just waiting for appointments. So imagine you really need help now, but you need to wait 3 to 6 months for one appointment. What's going to happen to the patient by then? And the thing I've noticed so far, when I ask people about, how's your experience trying to get like help through the government avenue, they would say the first question doctors usually ask them is, do you feel like you want to commit suicide?
Mm-hmm.
And if the answer is no, the assumption is you're not that serious. And I just think that's just wrong. You're triaging patients just based on this yes or no answer, and it's like, until when are you going to wait? Like, are you going to really put urgency to the person's mental health when they're like at the edge of the wall and threatening to jump? Are we going to wait for that, or are we just going to try and work together and stop that from
Right.
even entering anyone's minds?
Well, that's true. Like, because I remember when I went into the government hospital system, I mean, I thought, okay, I'm sure there is a safety net, there's some mental health system, but it's really just that there aren't enough resources to go around. So like I remember when I scheduled, I finally got a referral to the IMH therapist, and I got an appointment with the therapist. There was once I was on my way to the clinic and I got a last minute call saying that she had to cancel because my therapist was pregnant and she had to go off to another appointment, her own doctor and all that. So it's just that the resources aren't there. I think they've expanded that. I've seen some people put up really excellent resources online. Like now, polyclinics have a therapist. Certain polyclinics have therapists there, in house also, I believe. But yeah, for me, I believe that just it's worth it to pay for the private one because if you need the help, just go out and get it. I know someone who pays like $300 per session, and those are for really qualified therapists. So if you have it frequently enough, that's easily $1,000 a month. But there's no price to pay for your peace of mind. Those.
Yeah, I got a question. Okay, so basically, I think this is to try and get more knowledge. Like, I think it seems to me like, I mean, it's been addressed that anxiety is something like a silent shadow lurking behind a person, and sometimes people might not know whether this person is depressed or not because they themselves are actually hiding it out of fear, out of the stigma. So, like, I think as colleagues or like as employers, what are the signs that we can look out for? These signs of anxiety or depression, whether is it within the person or whether within the work or whether is it within the attitude. Yeah, can you like describe it for us?
I think basically everyone will display different, I would say, different signs. But in general, you would be able to tell when a person is like overstressed or having an anxiety attack because the biggest thing is like shortness of breath. And they're gonna maybe talk a mile a minute and they may not be like linked thoughts or they may be linked thoughts. So just those are like the little minute, I would say minute signs that you have shortness of breath and they're just like neither here nor there and they're like walking around everywhere. Yeah, basically. And at that point in time, to just let the person breathe. I did not used to believe in breathing techniques, to be honest. But I mean, when I had to kind of in learning how to manage all of these by myself, basically, five count in, hold for five, and five count out, breathe with them. That's gonna help just reset and just let them refocus on what they're really needing to do at that point in time. And then later when you guys are sitting down for lunch or whatever, they're like, oh hey, I noticed just now, you're probably having like a little panic attack and I think this project is kind of stressful, what do you think about it? Just kind of like, share, let them share,
Yeah.
and maybe they'll open up. We never know, right?
Yeah. Okay, I got one
Right.
more question. I think so far like our discussion is being placed in a very ideal setting lah. Like we wish that our employers will be this and that. So I think my question to us is like what can we tell future leaders or like future employers or companies that are going to watch this, like what are their first steps? Because I feel like sometimes like what Haziq is facing, like they know they have a problem, they have this issue, but they don't know what to do with it. Like what can we tell, like what's the first essential step they need to start, and then like from there where can they go from?
Think the first step you can do for your employees is just tell them it's okay. You're you and I'm me, and we are all different. And then just tell them, if you're having any troubles, just come up to me, raise your hand. Don't feel like you can't talk to me as a boss just because I'm a boss, that kind of thing. Be inclusive. I think that's also important. Like, don't just suddenly shut out anybody that you feel isn't working well within the team, and like you not tell them the reason why. And just have that one-on-one suddenly and be like, I think you're not working well with the team. Like, be inclusive. Try and have more group conversations. At the end of the day, therapy is about having conversations and understanding each other. And so it works the same in a company setting. It is about communicating. And once you stop communicating, then nothing is getting done.
Like, Narisya, I'm curious to know that So we really explored like how it's like in the workplace and environment, but maybe you can tell us a little bit as a creative. Do you feel like anxiety's got in the way of your creative output, maybe even your brainstorming, your inspiration, or do you find like it's actually helped you in certain ways, even like because mental health and creativity sometimes there's a very strange relationship at the same time.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
Mhm.
Yeah, for me, my personal experience is that it affects my creativity. So when I'm experiencing any low moods, I just can't produce. I can't really think very well. Nothing looks nice and everything. So I actually do have to stop doing creative work and just do like other things that may seem boring, just do chores, wash dishes, clean the house, do my bills, that kind of thing, just things that don't require like creative input. And then after a while, feel up to it and get back to it. Yeah, so for me, it affects. But I know for some other people, it actually fuels their creativity. So they're able to kind of express how they're feeling through art, through music, or through dance even. So they are able to like let out and then let go of all that negativity. um, so it is depending on your own understanding of how you're able to your relationship with your creativity, I would say. Yeah.
Do you find the medications have any impact on your clarity in terms of how you think? How do
uh,
you feel like subjectively when you take those medicines?
I just think of it like vitamins. So I'm lacking this vitamin, so I take medication to supplement, yeah, vitamin supplements. And it helps me just get the day going and just start, because mine is in the morning. So it just helps me to kind of, okay, you got to start your day, um, get breakfast and move on. And some days it's rough, some days I don't do anything, and some days it's like, yeah, it's great, the medication kind of like erases the negativity or erases the bad moods, and then I'm like, oh, why do I feel bad in the first place? Yeah, that kind of
Okay.
thing.
Sometimes, do you think sometimes like when you're having like problems like expressing that sometimes you actually do things subconsciously, like to show that you are actually facing such problem?
Well, what do you mean by that,
Wow.
Abba?
No, because I don't know. I feel like maybe she dyeing her hair yellow is like a creative cry for help.
A cry for help.
This
Yeah.
was pink. This was pink.
So like,
And it's gonna
Whoa.
change it's gonna change color again, like real
Keeps
soon.
changing.
Uh,
It keeps changing.
yeah, it keeps changing. Although yes, I do agree, Iqbal. I do this like hair change. It is to kind of cope with
mhm,
any negativity, because at the end of the day, when I look in the mirror and it's real nice and I feel great, and
mhm,
that's what matters. Because
Yeah.
even if everything else, especially this year, like 2020, it sucks so bad, but my hair looks great, whatever. And
yeah.
I mean, for me, my experience the past few years is just having this unknown love for makeup. And it can be very superficial to others. They're like, oh, you're spending money on makeup, and how is that going to make you happy? And I'm
Mhm,
like, but I look great, and that's all that matters. When I look
Mm.
great, I feel great, and then the things I do will be great.
yeah.
And sometimes it is just as simple as that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I did not really do that, like notice that subtle thing,
Yeah.
only until like recently, and when Iqbal mentioned it. So yeah.
Okay, but thank you so much, Narissa, for sharing with us
Hey, thanks, thanks.
your story. I think a lot of people out there. I don't think just creatives.
Yeah.
I think anyone who's curious about finding out what works in terms of the mental health support system that we have in Singapore,
Yeah.
the various things that we can do. I think certainly they're going to get a lot of insights from you today. Let's do a plug. Like if people want to find you, Narisya, like and to see your creative work, your handicrafts, where can they
Yeah.
find you at?
Yeah, you guys can please follow me on Instagram. It's Lunaripan, so Lunaripan. It's random, but yeah. So I post up like sketches, and I post up like my crochet works whenever the creative spark strikes. So
So you're
thanks.
open for commission works, yeah?
Right now I'm a bit full with regards to commission. But I mean,
Okay.
reach out to me if I can work something out. I can work something out. You know, I have all this yarn overtaking my shelf space, so help me finish my yarn.
Like, would you be open to, like, if anyone wants to reach out regarding any issues that involves anxiety and all that?
I
To
mean,
you?
yes, please do reach
Okay.
out with regards to anything you feel. If you're feeling like you need to talk to somebody, or if you feel like you need a little point in the right direction, or if you just need to ask me about my little experiences, it may be TMI, but I hope being open about it just helps. A question I get a lot is basically how I got diagnosed, what's my experience with going to the hospital and getting therapy sessions done, and also the medication experience, whether there's any side effects and all that. I would outright say that so far, zero side effects. Side effects are just there to scare you. There's a lot of medication out there. Try everything until you find the one that works for you. It's part of the human experience.
Yeah.
And also not
Very well said.
forgetting where you can get your hair colored. You know, pink,
Oh,
yellow.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please go to FDP Salon and ask for
Whoa.
Angeline. Okay.
Yeah.
It's time to get a blonde beard, my friends.
don't.
Get it in ombre, you know, like a little
Ombre.
fade from dark to light kind of little thing. Yeah,
We
man.
call that the Techino.
Yeah. Yeah, get yourself clear-eyed.
Or put some green lah, then become chendol.
Okay, Bal, like, just stop it lah, Bal. You know what? You need therapy. I've been telling you this for ages. Okay, you have a compulsive bad joke disorder. Okay.
Yeah, that's bad.
CBJD.
TBA.
Alright.